Edward Verner and his wife Tammy say their latest energy bill just isn't adding up.
Me being 100% disabled vet, living on a fixed income, they're just starving us to death.
He says their bill is on average $270. On a budget plan, they pay about $150 a month, but now he says their bill is around $470.
We're increasing when we're sleeping or when we're away. And things are completely off, and I just don't understand that.
Energy insights provided by the company show their usage to be highest from 12 a.m. to 12 noon when they're asleep or not using appliances. Even more to the point, the couple spends 3 weeks out of the month away from their Grand Blanc Township home during the camping season. And with a technician assuring them they are being energy efficient, the only answer Edward has for the increase is the installation of a smart meter. He says that was told to him by a Consumers Energy employee.
She says that the newer meters are catching up from appliances that weren't recording properly.
But Consumers Energy told me that his meter is showing an accurate reading.
Do you know what kind of meter you have in your home? No, this isn't just my nerdy curiosity. This is actually something that you should be considering. Over recent years, there's been a huge push by energy companies working in conjunction with the government to install smart meters. What's a smart meter? Well, it's an electric meter that energy corporations allege will streamline how power consumption is monitored in your home. Energy cop, huh? Sounds terrifying, and actually not too far off from reality. Now get this, power companies have been sending people to homes across the country to switch out the old analog meters for these brand new, all digital smart meters. Remember that little guy that used to come to your house to measure your energy usage? They'd write it down on a little notepad and then send you a bill at the end of the month. Well, that little guy is out of a job. He's been replaced with smart meters equipped with RF chips, technology that allows power companies to monitor these devices without actually ever coming to your home. So just how smart are they? Well, not only do they rapidly record information by the hour, but they can determine just what type of energy you're using. Think about that for 1 second. It may not seem like too much intrusion, but consider this. Energy corporations will have precise data on your daily routines, when you wash your clothes, when you watch TV, when you leave your home, and when you come back. And if the notion that they know what you're doing and when you're doing it isn't disturbing enough, it gets worse. Because these devices are also capable of controlling, regulating, and even rationing your energy use. Take this, for example. You're running your AC during those hot summer months, and the power company decides that you're using just a little too much power. Well, they can take it upon themselves to lower it, regardless of if you're willing to pay more for that extra usage. Another point to consider is what these companies can do with this information. Once they share it with law enforcement, it can, and believe me, it will be used against you. Cops will be able to know just what you're doing at all times in the privacy of your own home. Hey, who needs a telescreen when you have a smart meter? Secondly, these corporations can sell this information about our daily lives for data mining and advertising. It's disturbing on so many levels. Yet, these little surveillance units are being implemented across the country without the public's consent, and in many cases without their knowledge that they're even being installed. And it's leading to an array of problems. Check it out.
This is a smart meter. It uses electromagnetic frequency to send DTE information about power use. This gets rid of the need for meter readers and notifies the power company about outages. But some say such meters are making them sick.
I couldn't understand why I was feeling so fluish.
First, a warning.
And so I came back and tried to put my hand in front of him like this.
Then a scuffle.
And he just kept pushing me away and pushing me away. And
what was the guy after?
This meter.
Yep, an electric meter. He wanted to replace it with the new one like this, a so-called smart meter. Problem was, Thelma Taormina wanted to keep her old one. She had put up warning signs to leave it alone. But the worker wouldn't listen, so Taormina grabbed her gun.
Her lights are out. Her electric meter has stopped spinning. But this is not due to a storm or for failing to pay her bill. It's because this self-employed photographer has refused to allow a new smart meter in her home. Result, a lineman pulled up and disconnected her from the grid.
Yes, companies are actually threatening to shut off your power if you refuse to allow a smart meter to be installed in your home. Look, guys, it may seem like you don't have a choice in this, but these meters are not mandatory yet. You don't have to subject yourself to unknown health risks or increased utility costs. You most certainly don't have to give up your privacy to private corporations. What you have to do is be bold enough to say no.
Now, some people are more sensitive to EMF than others, suffering from a recently discovered affliction known as electronic hypersensitivity. They used to just think these people are crazy, but now they're finding that symptoms including unexplained fatigue, sleep disturbances, headaches, feeling of discomfort, difficulty concentrating, depression, memory loss, visual disruptions, irritability, hearing disruptions, ringing in the ears, skin problems, heart palpitations, and irregular heartbeat, dizziness, loss of appetite, movement difficulties, and nausea may all be symptoms of electronic hypersensitivity. When electrically hypersensitive people go into an electromagnetically clean environment, many of their symptoms seem to diminish or disappear. Studies predict by 2017, almost 50% of the population may be complaining of this illness. Some countries are already withdrawing Wi-Fi from public areas and even creating radiation-free refuges for people with electrosensitivity. The bottom line on RF radiation and its effect on us? Well, the jury is still out, but it's not looking great. In the meantime, until we all know for sure, it might be prudent to take a few precautionary steps. Fortunately, it's pretty easy to avoid most microwave radiation in high doses. Move wireless routers and cell phones further away from people. The further they are away, the less RF you'll absorb. Use headphones or the speakerphone when you talk on your phone to keep it away from your brain. Don't sleep with your cell phone under your pillow. Don't put your cell phone in your pockets. And turn things off when you're not using them. Unplug your Wi-Fi router and turn off your phone if you absolutely don't need it at night. So what levels of RF radiation are considered safe, and what kinds of levels are typical? We did some of our own testing with an X-Tech 480836 EMF meter in a typical home and office scenario, and here's what we found. So we took some readings at our store and at our home. First, we started at our store. Sorry for the messy workshop back here. And we got close to the wireless router and found that we had some spikes up to 0.6 microwatts per cubic centimeter, which is pretty high. So the question is, we still don't know what this stuff is doing to us, but there's some pretty cool charts at bioinitiative.org citing scientific studies that have already happened, and they have lots of easy-to-read, colorful charts with the potential effects of electromagnetic radiation in the human body. Again, these are proven to be long-term studies. Stuff's still kind of new. This is interesting, too. If you look at these smart meters that everybody's fussing about, I didn't think it was such a big deal until I took the readings myself, and looking at a peak of 37.28. And that's pretty heavy. I mean, that's a lot of power. Now, it's pulsed energy. It's not constant. But this might be hitting you in your bedroom or your place of work, depending on the location of this thing. And, of course, I'm right on top of it here. But if you look at it, you get immune system effects at that type of radiation. So you need to be concerned, if nothing else. We don't know if it's causing any cancer or immune system effects with a pulsed rate like that. Your body does a really good job of healing itself. Also, the microwave ovens. If you get really close, nobody would do this, would stand in front of a microwave oven, but there's considerable amount of energy coming out of a microwave oven. And you're looking at some of the effects that could here, including altered cell membranes. Of course, you wouldn't stand in front of a microwave oven. Most people have more sense than that. Although there is shielding inside, if you get right up on it, there are still some waves, microwaves, that do escape that shielding. So you want to make sure you're backed out. And you see if I pull away and even leave the room, it gets back to more of a background radiation. Again, this is in our store. We've got Wi-Fi waves and microwaves flying all over the place in here. Now, this is just my laptop, and you can see as it's sending and receiving information, it's jacked up to about 0.2, 0.3, and you can see that there are some possible neurological effects, and that's constant. That's what we're probably doing sitting at our desks every day or at home, and even having these laptops on our laps, for the gentlemen especially, it could affect sterility. So if you're having a problem having kids, you might want to double check your electronic devices. Now, my wife was on a phone call, and look at this, spiking at 7 microwatts per cubic centimeter. And that's huge. I mean, it doesn't do it all the time. We have a pretty crappy signal. We have Verizon in our house, and unfortunately, we're a little far off the beaten path. So I understand the further you away, the more energy your phone has to use to acquire that signal. As I pull this away from her cell phone while she's on an active call, and this doesn't happen all the time, just when you're on a telephone call, and it's a little less for Wi-Fi, you can see that it gets kind of jacked up periodically. Not all the time, but I mean, these are significant numbers here, this 3 and 4, and you can see on the chart here what this does, even up to 7. And again, this is more constant than the pulsed energy we're looking at. So if you spend a lot of time on the phone, you might have some questions about what is this stuff doing? It's a relatively new phenomenon, only the last decade or so, so we don't have a whole lot of information. We are the guinea pigs, my friends, so take some precautions and just be careful. It's better to be safe than be sorry.
Thanks again for doing this for us. Nine, are you with me?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
So we're going to start off, if you don't mind, on the death towers. You are an OSP engineer working on these cancer towers, a.k.a. cell phone or Gwen towers, and they also have a term called Cancer Alley, right?
Yes.
Okay, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do? Right. You're admitting that these are leaking radiation, and the FCC or whoever is contracted by them is altering the documents and altering the results of the radiation that's coming from them. So if we can't even trust them, why would we have them next to schools and churches and stuff?
Well, I can only tell you that they have large slurry ponds from coal mines resting on small hilltops directly above schoolhouses, and these slurry ponds are breaking their dams probably yearly. So I don't know why they would put that slurry pond above a schoolhouse of elementary aged children, and I don't know why they would want these towers anywhere near a school.
Can you just basically give everyone a description or definition of what a death tower is?
Well, a lot of the towers out there have antennas, transmitters up there that are doing a lot more than carrying your cell phone signals. And you know, they radiate harmful radiation to passive citizens, let alone the towers that are designed to control crowds in a non-lethal defense system.
Right. You said it's a ground weapon defense system. Can you elaborate on that?
It has been extensive since probably about 2005, but primarily it was all up and down the East Coast, particularly around D.C., Richmond, the hot spots in Virginia, where it's more than mind control. It's a physical body control. Some people call them heat, and they can render a body completely incapacitated through these frequency transmissions. They'll turn them on, and people become completely disoriented, vertigo, nauseous, lose all control of their body functions, and you collapse to the ground, and you remain there until the signal's shut off.
Right. So do you think they're setting these up, preparing for something, like in case they may need to use them on us?
Yeah, that's exactly why they're put there. I mean,
right, that's really scary.
Another type of defense there that at a lower level transmission, it will cause like a hissing or a vibration or a hum, and no matter where you are, this sensation will seemingly be coming from directly behind your head, and the disorientation, the fear, it will stop anybody from any activity they might be up to, and it will take the wind out of your sail if you're there to obstruct justice or put up a fight. And I do know some people I work with who suffer extreme condition of vertigo and taste in their mouth, ears ringing, stuff like that. I don't know if they were more susceptible to it or if they just have been exposed to a higher degree. I'm not sure, but for the most part, you work through it. You get there, you get your job done, and get out of there as soon as you can.
There's one. Wow, there's another cell tower. We should be getting a really good signal in here from these cell towers. right? All right. Well, let's look at the phone here, what it says. Scan for networks. Wow, we have no signal. I mean, at all. Oh, here we go. Here's the highest, strongest signal is no signal. Wow, these cell towers must be really doing their job. I've got such a strong non-signal. One cell tower. Two cell towers. Should equal a gigantically huge signal, right? Well, let's check it out. No signal. Not even one. AT&T, no signal. CenturyLink, no signal. Elmer's Guest downstairs, no signal. Here's some archive coffee bar. No signal, not in range.
Notice the power supply. Railgun, cell phone tower. Railgun, 25 megawatts of power. And your local cell phone tower. The FCC limits cell towers to 400 watts per rectenna, yet the cabling here suggests a 25 megawatt power supply, a 25 megawatt maximum burst effect. To put that into perspective, here's what a 2 kilowatt magnetron can do. A 2 kilowatt microwave on a stick. Now just imagine what a 25 megawatt cell phone tower can do. It can cook you while you sleep, a weapon of last resort to depopulate undesirable locations. It's a weapon of last resort in case of an invasion or an outbreak. If they can GMO the food supply, if they can fluoridate the water supply, if they can spray you like bugs with the chemtrail supply, just imagine what they're authorized to do while you sleep. Weaponized cell phone towers have been placed everywhere. They're able to strike small children as they play, able to quietly nuke a population in less than a day. Scientific studies show that a 1-watt cell phone device can start cooking your brain in less than 20 minutes. That's just 1 little watt of power. So ask yourself now, what do you think these 25 megawatt cell phone death towers can do? Rapid sector depopulation, extermination, fast and effective, silent and untraceable, designed to kill without warning.
Freaking towers that just have antennas on the end. I'm sure they could activate these from space. They could be in their mountain hideaway so far away, they're not going to get any microwaves on them while we wake up and we're being cooked like a fucking hard-boiled egg, you sons of bitches. You just fucking wait. And then these fucking transformers, if you've noticed, they're all new. There's like 20 of them per pole now. There used to be like 1 every block. Maybe 2. Now there's like 20. They're channeling energy, bitch. You know what energy is? It's what your brain is not made of. You fucking brainless motherfuckers. Oh God, there could be animals around that I'm offending them with my words. Yeah, the fucking human animals. Now my fucking camera's just trying to take a picture of my face with the little square facial recognition. It's sending it right to the goddamn telescope in the sky. You think those goddamn things are giving out tickets in live motion of you in the corner? You may be, this intersection is patrolled by a photograph system. Oh, bullshit, you're doing facial recognition. You don't care about any tickets. That's just a secondary smoke screen to confuse us. Let me tell you something, I'm really not that confused, but I am pissed. Helicopter's coming, I gotta go.
Hello everybody and welcome to my video. This video is about electromagnetic energy trespass, and that it is a different form of rape. It is an electromagnetic assault. So in this video, we're going to talk about cell towers and the dangers. We're being microwaved on our streets, homes, and at work, and a little bit about chemtrails. Around the 20-minute mark of the video, you will see the cables up the cell towers. It's completely crazy in terms of the size. Just watch that part of the video. It's at the end. I claim fair use, all rights reserved. I make this video for public protection, and I also want to point out police inaction and that it may be a crime, and we need to seek arrests for those who fail to act. No one in government, or no corporation, no authority, no sovereign has the right to permit nor legalize an invisible electromagnetic energy trespass against your body, your children, your parents, your spouse, your pets, your plants, your property. Microwaves going into your body is an act of aggression against life itself. It is a trespass against life. A full-scale act of self-defense is reasonable against this inhumane act on a civilian population. Similarly with chemtrails. Chemtrails block the sun, affect soil, plants, pets, marine life, drinking water, the air we breathe, climate, and our families. It is also a trespass requiring self-defense. Police action is required immediately on both issues. We need to power down the towers and stop chemtrails immediately. And here you can see a picture of the cell towers and a chemtrail, both of which have to end today. Getting microwaved will malnourish you as you eat plenty of food, and some wonder, is this a soft kill? And so let's talk about the microwave oven. Really, we're talking about cell towers when we talk about microwave ovens. The radiation of a microwave can affect changes in your blood and your heart rate. Here's a little picture of a magnetron or any kind of transmitter that transmits to an antenna and produces microwaves. It's just a simple concept. Microwaves will heat up food, and by doing that, it uses the polarity of water molecules. Microwaves remove and destroy food nutrients, leaving you overfed and undernourished. A direct connection to fat gain. Here we're showing what a water molecule, it's basically polar. We're showing the dipole moment. And so water, being a polar molecule, is vibrated by microwaves in a microwave oven and outside by the cell towers, causing vibration, causing heat. So when we are used to cooking food quickly, we tend to make poor choices as well. This little illustration just shows the rapidness of how water molecules, polar molecules, or even things within cell membranes, ions, etc., are affected by the rapid movement back and forth from the extreme high frequency of cell towers and microwave ovens. Microwaves kill the natural bacteria in food, leaving it void and dead. What's it doing to us from the cell towers? Well, when you overcook food, this is what happens. You destroy. And so when heavy metals are dispersed by aircraft from nozzles, and we talk about that later in the video, we breathe in nano-sized particle metals. And you're not supposed to put metals in a microwave, but chemtrail spray have metals, aluminum, etc. So now what? Well, we ask for police protection because we would get in trouble if we started solving the problem on our own. So what happens when you put metals into a microwave? It overheats, causes fire, causes all kinds of problems. So what are the microwaves from cell towers doing to the polar molecules in your body? Well, it's the same thing being done in your kitchen microwave, but we generally don't know this until now. So we now say power down the towers. It's called bodily harm. In this little segment here, I'm going to basically try to get you to imagine yourself being in a microwave oven as a tiny little life form, and then just imagine yourself, being outside in the world where the microwave transmitter is the cell tower. So really the world that we live in is the microwave oven cavity. And here's what happens when you are in a microwave cavity.
And this is what microwave radio frequency radiation sounds like coming from a cell phone antenna. This is a long-term care facility, and on the grounds we have a cell phone antenna disguised as a flagpole. Here we have more than 5,000 microwatts per meter squared. If you live within a few hundred meters of these cell phone antennas, you are exposed to constant microwave radio frequency radiation. And this is 11,000 microwatts per meter squared.
And so, basically being outside, it's the equivalent of being in a microwave oven. Not a good thing. We need to stop the microwavation of the public. So it affects our bodies because we have all sorts of polar molecules, ions, etc. within us. It causes damage to our bodies and the nutrients within us by vibrating water molecules and other polar molecules, ions, very rapidly. This is an inhumane act on a civilian population. We require police protection. Pull it. We need the police to pull the switch for us. So cops, power down the towers. It's inhumane to put a baby in a microwave and cook the baby. That's just nuts. But it's an inhumane act also to microwave any living being like the civilian population, which is a Section 4 violation, a crime against humanity from the Crimes Against Humanity and War Crimes Act. It's also criminal negligence in failing to protect the public, as the police duties are to protect the public and preserve peace and to prevent crime. And so, you would never want to microwave your child or anyone else. Well, that's exactly what's happening out on the streets and even within your home from the towers that are out on the streets. So putting metal in a microwave will be all kinds of problems, and we are constantly being sprayed metals down upon us, nano-sized metals, and we're breathing it in. It's in our tissues. It's spreading out. You can see the regularity of the waveform of the spray. And so chemtrails are an inhumane act on a civilian population, and we need the police to act at common law and seize suspected airports and suspected aircraft. We need the police and everyone to question the trusted first. We need to leave passengers and visitors alone and question the trusted first. And so, having said that, I leave you with the other previous videos. I just leave it at the end just to kind of put everything all together. Enjoy the video, and we have to stop chemtrail spraying, and we have to power down the towers. Hello everybody, and welcome to my video. In this video I am putting two videos together. The first one is on the cell towers and the dangers of cell towers, and I'm going to show you the extreme power from cell towers, as well as in the second video the same. However, the first part of the video is going to hopefully hit home in terms of what you can expect from cell towers, and the second part of the video, the second half, is on the massiveness, on the power, the extreme power. And the second part of the video also is going to be a little bit about chemtrails, which are highly visible by most people. Some people still can't see them because they are in tune with the blindness of others. I claim fair use. I reserve all rights. This is intended for public protection, and I intend to show how the police are not reacting and therefore behaving criminally, and I am seeking for the arrest of police officers who fail to act, not just on the matter of chemtrails, but on the matter of cell phone towers, and how the radiation, the microwave radiation upon the public is an inhumane act on a civilian population, which is a Section 4 violation of the Crimes Against Humanity and War Crimes Act. And the failing to protect the public is also the same crime. And it's also a crime of criminal negligence on the part of police, as well as the part of others who fail to report the microwavation of the public. So enjoy the video. It's for public protection and for the purposes to arrest those who fail to act, as well as who do these crimes to the public. Enjoy the video.
Type of emissions.
Okay, the reason we're told not to hold the cell phone next to our head is because it's constantly emitting microwave radiation, and as you move it away, you can see the level goes down. And this is what microwave radio frequency radiation sounds like coming from a cell phone antenna. This is a long-term care facility, and on the grounds we have a cell phone antenna disguised as a flagpole. Here we have more than 5,000 microwatts per meter squared. If you live within a few hundred meters of these cell phone antennas, you are exposed to constant microwave radio frequency radiation. And this is 11,000 microwatts per meter squared.
We did that last filming in November of last year, 2011, and the readings that we got. In order for us to be able to have a conversation about this, I think it's really important to understand some key concepts and terms, and this is something I teach at Trent University, so I'm just going to introduce you to some of the concepts that I share with my students as well, and this is called Antennas 101. This is called a cellular base station, and it consists of tower that holds the antennas. In Europe, they call it a mast, so that's how you might be able to see it in the literature. It has, this particular one has quite a few antennas on it, and it's in Toronto, by the way. The third part of one of these cellular base stations is the cabin that contains the electrical supply. Now, these antennas look very different and they have different functions. The ones at the top are omnidirectional, which means they radiate in all directions. And one of the ways that you can think about them is like an incandescent light bulb that simply gives light in all directions. We have some that are point-to-point antennas, and here you can imagine a laser where you beam the laser to another antenna that picks up the signal. And the third type of antenna we have here is called a sector antenna, which simply radiates in a certain direction. And one of the ways to think of a sector antenna is like a flashlight. So when you beam a flashlight in a direction, the light doesn't go everywhere. Now let's take a look at the antenna on the Bronte Fire Hall. Here you can see that there are 3 antennas that are point to point. If we move up, we have some sector antennas. These are the 2G and 4G antennas. And then we have something called a 4G antenna. You can see here that they're much broader than the 2G and 3G antennas. And now we have an example of how these antennas should work. This is a sector antenna, and ideally, this is the type of radiation you should get from it. In reality, however, these antennas have something called a side lobe, which means that some of the radiation is going to be given off in a direction that they really don't want it to go. And if we look at the radiation pattern, we can see here that you have very high levels of radiation at a distance of about 200 meters with this particular kind of configuration, but you also have very high levels immediately beneath the antenna. Now, some antenna providers will tell you the safest place you could be when it comes to an antenna is immediately underneath it. So when people are complaining that they don't want an antenna on their apartment building, what the cell phone provider will tell you is, well, if we put it on your neighbors, you're going to get more of the radiation. And so you can see here that this is one of the reasons it's particularly important not to have firefighters' antennas on fire halls. Many of the fire halls, although not the one here, have a flat roof, and the firefighters go on that flat roof to do some of their drills. They also have something called a hose tower. So they take the hose up there after they've used it and allow it to dry. So they actually get very close to some of the antennas that are immediately on or near their buildings. So this is another reason why that is not an ideal place to put them.
type of emissions.
Okay, the reason we're told not to hold the cell phone next to our head is because it's constantly emitting microwave radiation. And as you move it away, you can see the level goes down. And this is what microwave radio frequency radiation sounds like coming from a cell phone antenna. This is a long-term care facility, and on the grounds we have a cell phone antenna disguised as a flagpole. Here we have more than 5,000 microwatts per meter squared. If you live within a few hundred meters of these cell phone antennas, you are exposed to constant microwave radio frequency radiation. And this is 11,000 microwatts per meter squared.
We did that last filming in November of last year, 2011, and the readings that we got were between 5,000 and 11,000 microwatts per centimeter squared, per meter squared. And I've got Rob Metzinger here who's going to do some demonstrations. Most people recognize that it's harmful to hold a cell phone to your head, and they will say, but the towers are perfectly safe. So what we're going to do is, while he sets up, is that we're actually going to measure how close you have to get to the cell phone to get levels between 5 and 11,000 microwatts per meter squared. So he's got a cell phone, and he's going to make a call. So what are the levels that you're getting for that radiation?
A distance of about an inch, we're getting readings of about 10,000 microwatts per square meter.
Okay, so 1 inch from a cell phone, we're getting the same readings that we were getting across the street from these cell towers. So if that much radiation is harmful if you hold it to your head, how harmful is it when you're exposing your entire body to it? Most people are concerned about antennas, but they don't realize that there are a lot of devices in your home that also emit microwave radiation, and they emit it constantly. And what Rob is doing here, he's selecting, is it a baby monitor? Okay, here we have a baby monitor. Do you want to move even further away?
At this point, we're reading about 11,000 or 10,000 microwatts per square meter.
Baby monitors, to put an infant next to a baby monitor is probably the worst thing that you can do. In Europe, they have voice-activated baby monitors, which means they're not radiating until the infant cries or makes a sound. Here, we're basically microwaving infants. We're also microwaving the parent who has the other part of the monitor on a hip or near them. The next thing we're going to show is a cordless phone.
That's a similar sound to the baby monitor. It's using DEC technology as well, I believe. And at about this distance, we're getting 10 to 11,000 microwatts per square meter as well. And you can hear that that each source has its own distinct audio pattern. So that helps us identify what the sources are with this measuring equipment.
Okay, so we're concerned about a tower that's several hundred meters away, yet we have these devices, and we might even have them in our bedroom irradiating us all night long. Once again, in Europe, and I think you can buy them here as well, there are cordless phones that are on demand, which means they don't radiate. Here the base is radiating whether you're using that phone or not. In Europe, they have phones that are on demand, which means it's not until you pick up the receiver to make a call that you're exposed to the radiation. So when it comes to cell phones versus a cordless phone in your home is actually much more dangerous.
Okay, the next item is a wireless router. This is a pretty beefed up little unit, but Same thing goes for a home router. This is a signal pattern we typically hear when we measure wireless internet routers. And again, at a distance of about 18 inches or so, we're getting 10,000 microwatts per square meter. So it's not just what's coming from outside, it's what we're generating inside on our own as well. So it's all concerning.
Thank you very much, Rob. The whole purpose of this demonstration is to show you that we're exposed to this radiation all the time. We're exposed at home, at school, at work, and we simply don't want to be exposed to. So the question we started with, cellular antennas in your neighborhood, are they safe? And I guess my response to that is definitely not. They're really not safe. And whenever you say this to people, what they say is, well, how do you know? And, you know, if this were true, they would be telling us. This is the site on Google Map. This is the fire hall right here. And these are the various radiuses, 100, 200, 300, 400, and 500 meters within which the studies are telling us there could be biological effects. So for those of you who live within that, you've got some reason for concern. However, remember the antennas are sector antennas, and depending on which way they're facing and how powerful they are, it could be a very different population that could be exposed to this radiation and could experience some of the symptoms that Veronica experienced. Okay, if this was really unsafe, and if this were true, they would have told us. Well, they are telling us. We have the World Health Organization telling us this is a possible carcinogen. We have the U.S. Air Force telling us it causes cancer in rats. We have the Interphone study telling us it causes brain tumors. We have 3 studies showing that it's actually associated with cancer if you live near them. We have 5 studies showing that it increases symptoms of electrical sensitivity, and we have another study showing us it affects our hormone levels. So what I'd like to say is they are telling us. They really are telling us, and the problem is that we are not listening. Thank you very much.
Hello everybody, and welcome to my video on cell towers and chemtrails. If you look at this picture here, it's a radiation pattern of a cell tower antenna. It doesn't look good for the population that are close to it, and even at distances. We do have a new salute for chemtrails and possibly for cell towers. As you can see, microwave radiation will affect human cells in many ways. In biological membranes, the charge on membrane barriers are carried by ions, not by electrons as in an electrical circuit. The charge on the membrane barrier are carried by ions, not electrons, and cell phones create electric fields. Electromagnetic fields will influence polar or charged substances or molecules or ions within our bodies. Take a look at this picture as you have. Now look at this picture here. You have some genes, drugs, or other toxic material outside a cell membrane, and during an electric field, the electric field induces a voltage across the cell membrane, causing those genes or drugs or toxic substances to be inside the cell membrane. A microwave oven works on the principles of shifting poles of dipole molecules extremely rapidly to create heat to cook. Google microwave ovens and how they work. Mobile phones operate on microwave radiation, and you can see here how 5-10-year-olds, their brains are affected. And let's get the cell towers. Look at the cables. And so in this picture here, you're going to see the town of Milton in southern Ontario, and you can see the scale of 2 kilometers. You'll see that many cell towers are less than 2 kilometers apart, less than 10 miles for sure. And as you can see, Mississauga has a ton of cell towers. A typical cell phone has enough power to reach a cell tower of up to 45 miles away. Depending on the technology of the cell phone network, the maximum distance may be as low as 22 miles because the signal otherwise takes too long for the highly accurate timing of the cell phone protocol to work reliably. And 45 miles at less than 1 watt of power. So let's take a look at Southern Ontario again here. Look, see here is 10-kilometer scale, and you can see the Golden Horseshoe has tons and tons and tons of cell phone towers. It's just massive. So here again we have the same scale, 10-kilometer scale, and you can see a 45-mile radius. So a 1 watt, less than 1 watt cell phone has that coverage. It can reach a cell tower within that area of that large circle. Cell phones transmit at less than 1 watt of power and can reach a tower 45 miles away. Look at this picture here. You've seen this before in another video. Two 1200 watt hair dryers equals 2400 watts. And that equals the amount of power that this satellite uses in orbit. And satellites orbit around 22,000 miles above, and the circumference of the Earth is 24,000 miles. That's how high these satellites are, and you only need 2400 watts. The cell towers, like the one below, are numerous and probably spaced less than 10 miles apart. If a communications satellite uses two hair dryers worth of power and is spaced 22,000 miles apart from me and you, then the cables below must have a purpose other than communications for 10 miles between towers, or even 2 miles between towers. The amount of power in the cables below is weapons size. Enough to cook 1,000 cows in an hour? This is suspicious and it needs to be reported. So let's talk about microwave ovens. A microwave oven uses voltages of about 4 kilovolts or 4,000 volts. And it operates at a frequency of around 2400 megahertz, which is 2.4 gigahertz. This here is a microwave transmitter, and it uses something close to a 14-gauge copper wire, which is really small. 14-gauge copper wire only has a thickness of just over 1/16 of an inch. And here is a microwave transmitter. It's from a microwave oven, 4,000 volts, 2.4 gigahertz, and as you can see, it uses almost the size of house wiring. So let's talk about transmission lines. Cabling, 4-0 cable is about half an inch thick and can handle over 200 amps. We're not even going to talk about that. We're going to talk about this cable that you see on the screen now. This cable here is used in many transmission line applications of cell towers, and the center core of the thing has an outer diameter of 0.71 inches, which is almost 3/4 of an inch, and it has a peak power of 302 kilowatts. 302 kilowatts is enough power to power up 302 microwave ovens. Do you hear that? That cable that you just saw, that coaxial cable that powers cell towers, or goes up the mast of the cell towers, can power potentially 302 microwave ovens, because it has an outer diameter of core of almost 3/4 of an inch. As you can see here, these cables are massive. Just look at how massive these cables are. And you can see in comparison to the small cables in the background there, along with these large cables. This cable here in particular has almost a 3/4 inch center core outer diameter, and an outer diameter of the whole cable of about 2 inches. It's just massive. You don't need that kind of power for 2 kilometers. And look where they're putting these microwave transmitters. They're putting them at the top of church crosses. That's disgusting. So when you're at church, look what's happening to people. Look what's happening when you're near a cell tower. Look, here's another. Look at the church. Are you joking? Look at these cables. These are huge, massive cables at a church. So now let's look at backup generators. This is about a 50 kilowatt generator. That's about enough power to run a house, 200 amp power. And look at this cable here. This is even bigger than the cable I was talking before. It's the thickness of a brick, larger than the thickness of a brick. So back to the backup power for the cell towers. Look at that, 50 kilowatt. 50 kilowatt. That's unbelievable. For towers, when in fact all you need is 2.4 kilowatts to go from a satellite 22,000 miles away. The effects on human cells, let's talk about that. In this picture, you're going to see, genes and drugs outside of a cell, and then an electric field is induced, and then across the membrane, and then all of those things that are outside the cell, could be toxins, drugs, or genes, then end up inside a cell. This could be dangerous, especially if there's chemtrail spraying and we don't know what's in the spray. A lot of people are concerned about chemtrails and nobody's talking about it. The police have been informed or are doing nothing about it. And so if you don't know about chemtrails, take a look at this here. These are lines in the sky from jet aircraft. This is not engine exhaust. These are the output of nozzles. This is not thrust output from an engine. These are nozzle output from an engine. Just look at that. That is not a trail from an engine. That is a trail from a nozzle. It's chemicals. They're particulates. Tiny particulates, nano-sized particulates. And it needs to be stopped right away. Here you see a cell tower, and there again we see some massive cablings, and so we wonder now, in conjunction with the chemical spraying, are these towers used for other purposes? Because if you just talk about the engine, the turboprop engine is basically a turbine engine. It's just like the high bypass turbofan engine. They use the same core engine. It's a turbine engine, so neither of them produce trails. It's only the nozzles at the output. It's a modification in line with exhaust. Just look at the skin. The skin is a different color than the rest of the pylon. It's an addition. It's a modification. And right in line with exhaust. So any kind of trail that comes out of these jet engines is coming from the nozzle. It's very unlikely because of diffusion up in the upper atmosphere if it was condensation. Diffusion would take condensation out of the picture within seconds. Back again to the cabling. Look at the massive, massive, massive cables that go up the mast, okay? The inner core diameter of that, the inner conductor has a diameter of almost 3/4 of an inch. Okay, these cables, this particular cable has an outer diameter of 2 inches, just over 2 inches. It has a 302 kilowatt power capacity and can power up potentially 302 microwave ovens. And we hope for God that they're not working with the chemtrails in the sky. Again, look at the cables. These are massive, massive, massive cables when a satellite in orbit only uses 2.4 kilowatts or 2,400 watts, which is about the same amount of power as a hairdryer. Okay, this has a capacity of 302,000 watts, not 2,400 watts like a hairdryer. 302,000 watts compared to 2,400 watts of a hairdryer. And the 2,400 watts of a hairdryer is satellite power from 22,000 miles above. Now, many are speculating that these regularities of waves of whatever is from the cell towers or HAARP, and the chemtrails are helping with whatever purposes the electromagnetic radiation is shot into the atmosphere with. So we need to stop chemtrails, and we need to stop the microwavation of the civilian population. These are inhumane acts on a civilian population, a Section 4 violation of the Crimes Against Humanity and War Crimes Act, punishable by life in prison. So inform police, and if the police do not respond, we need to make them defendants. Do something.
Samsung has released a revised privacy policy that left some users wondering if the company's smart TVs were spying on them. I sat down with Michael Price of the Brennan Center for Justice.
First of all, lay out the issue here for us.
Well, what's going on when you're talking to the television is that it's capturing your voice and translating it into text through a third party, through another company, and then trying to send the control back to the television. The problem is that when you have that sort of software and the microphone on all the time, it's collecting a lot of information about what you might say in the privacy of your own living room, and there come the problem.
Is it on all the time or just when you cue it to record?
It depends on the model. So some of the newer models are on all the time, so you don't have to go searching for the remote and press a button. Some of them you press a button and speak into it.
And so when we talk about third parties, what does that mean?
It means that you are sending that information to a company that's going to then do something with it, provide a service, in this case, the voice to text service that the TV requires in order to function.
Samsung issued this updated warning, or whatever you want to call it, on their products that this may be happening. Sort of an ominously worded document, right?
It was a little ominous. It said, you know, be careful about what you say in front of the television. Try not to have any sensitive conversations in your living room, because the TV is going to be recording what you say and sending that data off to another company.
Now that said, you speak into an Apple phone, you talk to Siri, you can ask Siri questions.
That's absolutely
Same
right.
thing's being transmitted?
It's absolutely true. It's Siri on your iPhone. It's the 8 computers that are in your car. We're talking about the Internet of Things. We're talking about putting chips into physical objects and connecting them to the internet. And what that does is create a lot of data. And that data can be used for convenience, for efficiency, but it can also be a very attractive nuisance for hackers. And it also doesn't receive privacy protection under the Fourth Amendment in the way that you and I think, would like to see it protected.
Okay. Alexa, tell me a joke.
What do you call an American revolutionary who draws cartoons? Yankee Doodler.
Alexa, what is the average salary of a Major League Soccer player?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question I heard.
Alexa, are we currently being monitored by the NSA?
You're kidding, right?
What just happened?
Alexa just listened to our entire conversation, knew who I was by my voice, and then we thought she wasn't listening to us anymore. Joey started like saying, "Oh man, she's so creepy," and then she's like, "I'm not creepy, Michael Vidal." What? Yeah.
No.
That's never happened to you?
No, not really.
Dude, it just happened. How did it know it was me?
Well, Alexa kind of links up. It knows, like, it has Bluetooth.
When did we ever tell it I was me?
I don't remember, dude. Maybe it went into the context of my phone.
Oh, but how does it know my voice? I never told it my name.
Dude, I don't know. Okay, let me just go. I'm gonna set up the game here in a quick. Let me just talk to Amanda for a second, dude.
Oh my goodness. There's no way. Alexa, how do you know who I am?
I know who you are. You on the internet, Michael Vidal.
What the heck, dude? You're kidding, right? You guys aren't like typing things for it to say, right?
I'm not even on anything.
Alexa, do you know how old I am?
I believe you're 26 years old.
What the heck? This is bull. No way. No way. No way.
No.
I am so tweeting about this.
So weird.
Please do not tweet about this. This is a beta feature.
What happened?
There's no way this thing knows so much about me.
Play ticker ticker. Lata, play ticker ticker.
Bobby, can you talk to play wheels?
You want to hear a station for porn detected. Porno ringtone, hot chick, amateur girl, calling sexy.
No.
Hot pussy, anal dildo ringtone.
Alexa, stop!